Hey guys, it's Bex. Welcome to another video. I just want to start today's video by saying that I am sick. I'm getting over being sick. We're feeling a little bit better, but I'm probably going to be coughing a decent amount and therefore editing it out. So if there's random like pauses, it's probably because I started coughing and edited it out. With that being said, we are going to do my January reading wrap up and my February TBR in today's video. I just thought, why not do a double whammy for today's video, because I want to start doing more wrap-ups for the months, or at least like do 2 months at a time if I don't do one every month. Without further ado, we are just going to start with my February TBR. First up, this is just on top, so I'll talk about this one first. I want to read a book on my Kindle, and honestly, I should probably double check that it's even going to be on Kindle Unlimited, because I don't know for sure. But the book I'm talking about is Rebel Witch, the second book in the Crimson Moth duology by Kristen Ciccarelli. I don't know if that's how you say her name. I know that Heartless Hunter was on Kindle Unlimited, so why do I have a feeling it's not going to be on Kindle Unlimited? Because it's like brand new. It doesn't say because it's not out yet. It comes out February 18th. Either way, I guess it doesn't really matter because I want to buy the book, so I probably will be buying it physically if it's not on Kindle Unlimited, but if it is on Kindle Unlimited, I'll be reading it on my Kindle. If you don't know, this duology is about this witch and witch hunter, and they obviously do not like each other. They're kind of on opposing sides, and it's kind of a game of cat and mouse between them. Each of them are trying to kind of get information from the other person, and in doing so, they get closer. You know, they start to catch feelings. So it is a romantasy, and yeah, I really loved the first one. I think I rated it like a 4.25 star, and highly anticipating reading the next book. And also nice because it's just a duology, so it'll be finishing a series that I'm in the middle of, which I'm trying to do a lot of. A couple books on my TBR for February are continuations of series I'm in the middle of, so that's kind of a theme. The next book on my TBR is going to be Defy Me by Tara Mafi. I thought this book was longer because the other ones have been kind of, except for the first book. It's like barely 350 pages, so yeah, I thought it was longer, but that's kind of a nice surprise. And I need to continue the series and finish it because it has been a bit since I read the last like actual book in this series, and I do remember that something crazy just happened. And so I remember a lot, but just before I forget anything, I want to finish it, continue it. And oh, I didn't say, this is the 5th main book in the Shatter Me series. This is a YA dystopian romance, and I'm absolutely loving it so far. I think if you read the first one and you're not 100% sold, it just gets better. So if you want to, give it a chance and continue, I recommend that. I've rated all of them but the first one 5 stars so far, not including the novellas. So excited to jump back in and hoping that I will love this one just as much as the other ones. Next, we have another book that would be continuing a series and actually finishing a series that I am in the middle of, and that is Supernova by Marissa Meyer. I'm actually in the middle of it. I just started it this morning, so I'm only on page 33. But this is definitely going to be read because I'm already reading it, and this is the 3rd book in the Renegades trilogy by Marissa Meyer, which is a YA sci-fi series about superheroes and kind of the good guys versus the bad guys. It also has a little bit of romance in it, and I have also been absolutely loving this series. I rated the first one 5 stars, the second one 4.5 stars, and then I'm so excited to see what I think about the conclusion. I really love Marissa Meyer's writing so far from what I've read by her. I just want to continue to read more by her. This series is just such a fun time. That's how I would really describe it, as just plain fun. And even though it's kind of, about like bad guys and villains and stuff like that, it keeps it lighthearted still because it's YA. Sometimes I don't know like who I'm rooting for more like the good guys or the bad guys, because you find yourself not really agreeing with some of the good guys, aka the renegades, some of the decisions that they make and kind of their code of conduct. And then on the other hand, our main character Nova is a bad guy. She's an anarchist, but she has like a really good reason to kind of not be on the good guy side and stuff like that. So yeah, really excited to keep reading this book. Next we have Winterwood by Shay Earnshaw. This is a standalone YA fantasy novel. I think it has romance too. I don't know a ton about this one, but I read The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw last year and I absolutely loved it and immediately bought this one by her. Also, I'm sorry if I'm like not very energetic. I have a headache and I'm still sick, but I knew I needed to film a video because it's been a bit since I've uploaded one. So bear with me. I'm usually more perky than this. Hi Frodo, it's my smoothie. Yeah, this is about this girl who's rumored to be a witch, and she finds herself kind of led to this boy, Oliver, the same boy who disappeared from the camp for wayward boys weeks ago and in the middle of the worst snowstorm in years. He has no memory of the time that he'd been missing. Says Oliver has secrets of his own, secrets he'll do anything to keep buried, because as it turns out, he wasn't the only one who went missing on that fateful night all those weeks ago. Yeah, I just know that I really liked her other book and I wanted to read more by her, and this one sounded interesting and perfect for the winter time because snowstorm, it's called Winterwood, and based on her other book, she's very good at writing kind of like ambiance. Like her other book was kind of fall-esque, and then this one hopefully is winter-esque. We have 2 more books, so you know, I don't know if we'll get to all of these or not, but we will see. The next one is one I'm so excited for, and hopefully I'll finally get to it. I feel bad because it was on my January TBR and I did not get to it, but I went on vacation and this just wasn't the vibe, and you know, there's only so many days in a month. But the next one is Six of Crows by Lee Bardugo. I figured because I am going to be finishing / continuing series also as a part of my February TBR that it would be safe to start a new one, and this is just a duology, so not too much of a commitment. And I also really wanted to read this kind of in the winter. I don't know why. It really bothers me that this isn't actually a sticker that you can take off. Whatever. This is a YA fantasy about like a super dangerous heist and 6, I don't know if they're like criminals or if they're just, yeah, I think they are kind of criminals. Our main character Kaz, it says, is a criminal prodigy. He's offered a chance at a deadly heist that could make him rich beyond his wildest dreams, but he can't pull it off alone. So he gets a crew of other criminals, I guess, to help him out, and I've heard it's absolutely amazing. So excited. This is going to be my first Lee Bardugo book. I know this is technically like a spin-off duology from the Shadow and Bone series, but I've just heard not the best things about that, and I don't really have a need or want to read it, so I'm not going to. I'm just going to go straight into this one because I've heard amazing things about this one, and I've had these for a while. I have both the books, so yeah, I think it is time to start it. And last but not least, we are going to definitely be reading this book, no doubt about it, and that is Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. I'm so excited. I have absolutely loved this series so far. I devoured the first book. I rated it 5 stars, Fourth Wing, and then the second book I really liked. I rated it 4.5 stars. I know some people didn't really vibe with that one as much, but I really enjoyed it, so I'm really excited. And I haven't watched any like videos on like reading blogs of this book or anything. I have only seen a couple of people that I'm like friends with or follow on Goodreads rate it, or that are reading it right now, and the couple reviews I've seen, I think they've rated it 5 stars, so I'm excited. Either way, I'm not gonna let other people's opinions sway mine, because same thing happened with Iron Flame. I was kind of seeing a couple people not love it, and I ended up loving it. So you never know. Everyone has different opinions. If you don't know, this series is super popular. It is an adult romantasy series about this dragon riding school. Well, it's a school that has multiple quadrants in it, but there's a dragon riding quadrant, and our main character ultraviolet Sorengale goes into the dragon riding quadrant, and it's very dangerous, and kind of, yeah, crazy stuff starts happening with kind of the politics, and it's just a crazy ride altogether, but I absolutely love it, and I'm so excited to read this. I feel like I'm already late to the game and already have FOMO, but I will be reading it very soon. Okay, so those are the 6 books that are on my February TBR, which 6 is actually like usually how many I put on when I do like the TBR jar, so that actually works out perfectly. I didn't even like count. I just honestly picked books from my TBR card that I thought I would be wanting to pick up in February, and we will see where February takes us. Okay, so next we're going to talk about all the books I read in January. I read 7 books if you include the novella. That's like 75 pages. 6, 7, whatever you want to say. We're going to go in order, I guess. So the first book we read was on my Kindle. First book I finished in January. It was a rollover from December, and that was Grim Curiosities by Sharon Lynn Fisher. And I rated this one 4 stars. This was very like random read for me. I randomly saw it. I don't know if, I think you can turn this off, but on your Kindle, when it's on like sleep mode or whatever, you can have books like pop up for like recommended books to buy or read that are on Kindle Unlimited or whatever. And this one popped up, and I thought it actually looked cool, and so I read the description and it sounded interesting, so I added it. This is mostly a fantasy, some romance in there as well. I just had to go somewhere real quick, so I'm trying to remember what I was saying before I left. I think I was just about to start saying what Grim Curiosities was about. It's kind of complicated to explain, so I'm gonna try my best without taking a million years, but it's about this young woman who is kind of struggling. She takes care of her mother, who years ago, can't remember how long ago specifically, but she randomly one day while doing her medium services, because she had the ability to talk to ghosts and she kind of did that as work, she, while talking to a ghost one day, randomly like just stopped talking and was kind of not all there. So yeah, she hasn't said a word in years, so that's kind of hard. This young woman is now in charge of their shop that they own called Grim Curiosities. Hi, Sammy. Hi. Meanwhile, she meets this young man who I'm getting really distracted by Sammy, whose sister also has the same affliction that Lizzie's, the main character's name, mother has, who can't, you know, talk. And so they kind of join together to try to figure out why and how to heal them. It was really good, and I had never heard anyone talk about it. I swear it only has like 100 or something really low amount of like reviews on Goodreads. So if it sounds interesting at all to you, or if you want to actually read the summary, because apparently I'm really bad at explaining books, or just this book maybe, then I would suggest looking into it and reading it to support the author, because I liked it. The next book I listened to on audio, and that is Beyond the Wand by Tom Felton. This is a memoir from the actor who played Draco Malfoy in Harry Potter. I'm sitting right in front of my Harry Potter shelf. If you can't tell, I love Harry Potter, and I was so excited to read this or listen to it. I knew I wanted to listen to it because he narrates it himself. I absolutely loved it. I technically don't really rate memoirs, but I think on Goodreads, just support the author, Tom Felton, and just get his book, the love and appreciation it deserves. I rated it 5 stars because if I were to rate it, that's what I would rate it. And it was so good. It's just about his life kind of growing up before he started getting into acting, and then a lot of behind the scenes from the Harry Potter movies and filming those, which was definitely my favorite part. But the whole book, even non-Harry Potter related, was absolutely amazing. And his later years, the topics in the book kind of get more serious, and he had struggles like a lot of people that are famous and have money kind of do. But yeah, yeah, I would highly recommend, especially if you are a Potterhead, if you love Harry Potter. But even if you don't, it was so good and I recommend it. Now we're getting into the 3 books I read while on vacation in Costa Rica for my honeymoon. I read 2 books on my Kindle and 1 physical. The first one I read was Sunkissed by Casey West. I had to think about that for a second. And by the way, these 3 books I read in a video, my last video. So go watch that if you want to kind of see me reading these books, hearing thoughts while reading them, and more in-depth kind of opinions and stuff on them. But this one I ended up rating 3.75 stars. It was super cute. It's a YA contemporary romance about this girl, Avery, who goes with her family to like this, I don't know what to call it, like this, it almost reminds me of like summer camp, but for like families. Anyway, she goes there with her family for the summer, and when she gets there, she meets this band who are playing for the summer at the camp, and I was gonna say the main guy of the band, but no, he is the guitar player and songwriter of the band, Brooks. I had to think about his name for a second. She meets him, and they hit it off. They kind of both end up helping each other with different things. Avery ends up helping Brooks with writing song lyrics for their song that they're going to be performing in this band competition, and Brooks ends up helping Avery kind of on her journey of like self-discovery and figuring out what she actually likes and kind of not wants to do with her life, but kind of. And along the way, you know, they catch feelings for each other. I really related to Avery. She's kind of like a people pleaser and just wants to kind of make sure everyone else is happy, and sometimes that makes her own feelings and happiness be less of a priority, which I can relate to. So it was a good read for kind of the, you know, sunshine I was in. So I recommend it for like the summertime, and it was just a cute, fun time. Next, I read Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. This again was so perfect for the setting I was in. Beachy. This takes place on a lake in the summer over 6 summers and 1 weekend. It's past and present timeline. This is an adult contemporary romance novel. Past timeline, we are following Percy as she is growing up, starting when she is like 13 years old, and she meets the next door neighbors, the Florrick brothers, Charlie and Sam. Percy and Sam immediately hit it off and become absolute best friends, and every summer when Percy's family goes back to their lake house, because they're only there for the summer versus the Florrick family, they live there all year round, she's just so excited to always see Sam. And as kind of years go on and they get a little bit older into their teenage years, they get into a relationship, and we know from the very beginning in the back of the book that something happened when they were like 18 years old to make them break up, and it was something really bad, but we don't know what it was. And the present timeline is following Percy, now 30 years old, and she gets a call from Charlie, Sam's brother, saying that their mother has died and just inviting her to the funeral. And she obviously goes, but she is a little bit nervous because she hasn't seen Sam in like 12 years. So since they were 18 years old, we finally find out what happened, and I absolutely loved this book except for the kind of reveal of what happened when they were 18 years old. I just think that was unnecessary, and I wish that it wasn't in the book and then it was something else, because like almost anything else would have been better than that. I mean, it makes sense why they broke up, but I still didn't like it. But besides that, I really had no complaints. I did like the past timeline better. Just, I don't know, something about the nostalgia of, you know, being a teenager and having your first crush and boyfriend and hormones and all that just always brings me back. And you know, the lake setting and just everything about the past timeline was so good, and the present was fine too. It only takes place over 1 weekend, and there's like a chapter here and there throughout the book from the present timeline. But oh, I actually tabbed 4 things in this book, like dog-eared it, which I'm very sad to say because I hate dog-earing, but I didn't have tabs with me because I was on vacation, so I did dog-ear it. But yeah, that's how much I liked it. But but because of the ending, I had to rate it a 4.5 stars and not a 5. Maybe it would have been a 5 without that. I don't know. We'll never know. But yeah, highly recommend this book. Next, I read another book on my Kindle, Ward D by Frida McFadden, which is just a super fast-paced mystery thriller about this med student. I'm trying to remember her name. Why do I always forget everyone's names in books? Amy, this med student Amy, who's doing like a clinical rotation in the psychiatry unit at this hospital, Ward D it's called, and she is really nervous because she's just had things happen in her life to people that she knows, kind of that puts a bad taste in her mouth about just psychiatry, psychiatric patients, stuff like that. And she gets there kind of immediately. She realizes that kind of weird things start happening. There's this really dangerous patient who is in like the seclusion room, but they're going to be moving him the very next day because they're realizing that he's too dangerous for this specific hospital psychiatry unit, and that freaks her out. And then patients and others start like vanishing. Without giving too much away, that's kind of what it's about, and I really liked it. It was very fast paced. She has a way of writing that you just fly through. I think it's because she's very like straight to the point, like sentences, not fluffy, flowery writing. And she also ends almost every chapter with like a kind of cliffhanger. Like I walk into the room and the door closes behind me and I turn around and there's someone standing there and you're like, well, who is it? Why did they close the door behind her? And so you want to read the next chapter, you know? And I ended up rating Ward D 4 stars. Highly recommend for if you just want a fast-paced, quick, good thriller with some plot twists. And so far so good with my Frida McFadden books. I've read 2 by her now and they were both 4 stars. Alright, next I read Arch Enemies by Marissa Meyer. I was just talking about the 3rd book in this trilogy, Supernova, that's on my February TBR. I just finished this one like a week ago. Absolutely loved it. I think I already said too when I rated this in my earlier portion of this video, but I rated this one a 4.5 stars. And I also kind of already talked about what the series is about, so not much else to say about it. But I will say the reason that I didn't give this one a 5 stars versus I gave the first book, Renegades, 5 stars, is because this one just felt a little bit more like, I guess more like a middle book in a series, kind of like not as much happened, not as action-packed as the first one. But really that's the only difference and the only reason I didn't rate it 5 stars, because I just love this story. I love the characters. Something kind of happens with the romance in this book finally, and I loved that. Next I read / listened to The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. I started listening to this on the flights to and from Costa Rica because even though I have it physically, I thought I, should have an audiobook in case I didn't want to actually read a physical book or on my Kindle. And I didn't get very far on the trip. I think I got like 11% of the way through the book. So then I came back and I mostly read it physically, kind of mixed in with listening to it a couple other times. But this also is a mystery thriller. I would say more so a mystery, but I would say it probably considers itself a thriller as well. I liked this book. I believe I gave it 3.5 stars. So one of my least favorite books of the month, and I think that was just because it was a little bit slow at parts and the main character, Lo, was a little bit annoying. And I think she's kind of supposed to be seen as an unreliable narrator, I'm pretty sure, because she like drinks a lot and is on medications. I guess it just tends, to make people think maybe that you aren't as reliable. But basically our main character, Lo, is a journalist and she gets a spot to go on this maiden voyage of this like small little cruise ship, almost more like a yacht, but like a yacht that has cabins to sleep in, and it's meant for like kind of long distances. But she gets a spot to go on this voyage as a journalist and kind of write about how it is and her experience on it. But the like first night that she's there, before, she first of all gets really drunk, and then she goes back to her room, and in the middle of the night she's woken up by something. She thinks she heard a scream. She's not 100% sure, and then when she's awake she hears the cabin next to her, like the sliding glass door, open to the balcony, and then she hears a big splash, and she specifically thinks that is a big splash that would like only happen from, like, let's say a body going into the water. So she obviously freaks out and calls like the security or whatever people on the boat, and they come and check it out. What do you know? There's no one staying in the cabin next to her, but she swears that earlier in the day she saw someone in the cabin next to her. So then it's just like, is she, you know, crazy? Is she going crazy and just making it up? No one is missing on the ship, so that's also like weird because she swears that someone went into the water. So then you're just trying to unravel the mystery and find out if there really was someone in there or if someone really went overboard, stuff like that. It sounds really interesting, and it was, but yeah, I feel like maybe the pacing was just a little bit weird, which made it so I didn't love it as much as I maybe could have. And last but not least, I read the novella Shadow Me, part of the Shatter Me series. This book right here is called Find Me, and it has 2 novellas in it, and I read the first one, Shadow Me. So this is book 4.5 of the Shatter Me series, and the novellas in this series, again, are just super short. I think this one was like 75 pages. They all kind of have a different POV. This one is in Kenji's POV, who is like Juliet's best friend in this series. The novellas are, they kind of just like go over the same events kind of that happen in the previous book or in part of the previous book. It had been a while since I read the previous book, so it actually was kind of nice that I read this because now I kind of have a refresher on how the last book ended, and I don't know, it's nice to see a different POV because all the main books are mostly in Juliet's POV, who is our main protagonist. And yeah, I mean, it's 70 pages, nothing crazy. I think I rated it like a 3.5 star for a novella. That is the last book that I read in January. I feel like I've been talking for a million years like usual. So those are all of the books I read in January and the books that are on my February TBR. That is the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what books you are excited to read in February. What was your favorite book that you read in January? All the things. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!